demonstration of his work, a little talk about what he does, his wonderful things that he does. The floor is yours, Reuven.
It was tough to choose certain things to bring because I got so many different things. I wanted to bring something that's unusual. So, I think a lot of you have already seen my carvings that I do at the chalk. I mean, you can come up and look at them afterwards, take a look at them. I try and cover all kinds of subject matter. And do a little everything. Things from TV, magazines, movies, life, whatever anybody might want, I carve for them also, as well as doing portraits. Do you have it with you?
What?
Do you have your portrait?
Oh no, I didn't know who was here tonight.
That's okay.
My computer was down and I didn't get no information. I called nobody.
That's okay. But
I was
anyway,
waiting for $5,000.
over the years, I like to think I've tried just about everything. I've tried working in clay, but I don't have a kiln at home, unfortunately. So I ended up, I bought something called polyclay, which is the new, it works like clay, and you can bake it in a regular oven at 275 degrees, and it hardens up. It's not quite as durable as regular ceramic clay, but it works. So these were all made from polyclay, and my cat is the model. She likes to stick her head in the ice cream cups. It's like, well, it's one vanilla ice cream.
And you put them right on that little stand like that?
Yeah.
Is that solid, or is there an armature inside?
There's a couple of wires inside, geometry, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't trust just gluing it down. The wires are actually embedded in the wood. This one is also along the same lines. This one is sort of a cartoon of my cat who used to like watching the toilet flush. So you go in the bathroom and flush the toilet and go run in there and jump up in and watch the water go down. So that's, I call this one What's Going Down. And here he was playing with the brush and he was ripping up the toilet paper with his nails.
That's amazing.
So polyclay comes in different colors and it's a little translucent in some of the colors, and it also comes in white. So I use a little mixture of everything here for the color inside and everything.
You didn't paint it?
No, that's the color of the polyclay. This one was the basics I mentioned before. I went to the company that sells this, and I bought a lot, like 20 pounds of it, because I really like working with it, and I didn't want to go like to one of the art stores and buy a little tiny chunk of it, you know, for an incredible amount of money. But this was my first idea. I worked it up in clay. And then this was the actual piece that I carved out of wood.
Wow.
This is sitting on his finger. It's
Right.
not driftwood or something, right?
No, it's actually a couple of pieces of 2x4s that I glued together.
Was that your hand? He's sitting
Yeah.
on your finger, right?
Yeah.
So obviously he's right-handed.
That's a left.
Left-handed.
No, he's right-handed.
Use your right hand to
carve it.
To carve.
No, but the
Oh.
horse and the bird.
You can't
Well, the
carve.
bird happened to be sitting on that finger when I took the picture. So, you know, another one of my endeavors, I like decoys. And I decided to try carving a decoy.
Yeah.
But instead of finding a big chunk of wood and trying to carve it down, I have a lot of scraps of, say, like 3/4 inch plywood. Little pieces like this big, weird angles, and, you know, leftovers. So what I did is I took a lot of time and I mapped out on paper the idea of this decoy that I wanted to make. But this is actually carved from 23 layers of the pieces of plywood. And some of these layers have 3 or 4 pieces in them because there were little scraps left over. But I had to make them work. So I actually have, you can see, that goes my goose box. And you can see all the layers in there from the plywood.
Wow.
Sounds like a lot of work.
What kind of glue did you use?
And it took a long time.
Yeah, what kind of glue did you use?
Why wasn't
I think I used epoxy, the 2-part epoxy,
glue?
because it just hardened when you wanted to. You mix it up and it hardens in 5 minutes.
Then did you clamp it together?
Oh yeah, each layer.
Wow.
So it took a long time.
I like the way you did the latch on it and to open it up where you could,
Well, I couldn't find a latch in like Home Depot or someplace that would just latch when you click it. So I ended up buying a cabinet lock.
Okay.
And I had a piano hinge in the back, so it's a nice long extended hinge. So, and I even had to make the handle because I couldn't find the handle I wanted.
Did you write something on the bottom?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I dedicated
I
this
saw something.
to my wife.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my goodness. Goosebumps by
Can you read it?
Reuven, 214.
A continual inspiration.
That's nice, that's great.
Whoa.
very nice.
What's that?
Patricia.
Patricia, is that your wife's name?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
That'd be a funny story if it wasn't, I think.
Whoop, wrong one, right? It says to Patricia, my continual inspiration. And it's 2/14/2001.
Yeah, Valentine's.
Very nice.
You're
So
nice.
there's an opening in the neck too, right?
Oh, yes. I also made this since I wanted to keep everything hollow. So I get it open, hang out. For whatever anyone wants to put in there, I actually keep an extra key in there just in case.
What a clever thing.
Did your wife get to use it?
No, she couldn't lift it up if she wanted to. But I ended up going to a decoy show a couple of years ago in Patchogue with this. And I couldn't believe how all the carvers were flipping over this. A lot of them offered me up to $900 to buy this thing from me.
Wow.
Because they never saw anything like it.
Yeah.
And I thought about doing other boxes like this, I just haven't gotten around to it. I don't have enough room in my studio.
How many hours it take it? I mean,
I don't remember.
I mean, because $900 seems like a lot, but that doesn't even look like it would come close to the amount of time you put into that thing.
I don't know. Probably up to around 100 hours at least.
Right.
Nobody's priceless.
All the drawings and diagrams, calculating the pieces to fit everything. It was a lot of work. It was just something I wanted to try.
Very successful.
Can I interrupt? Can you tell us about Reuven? Who is he? Where is he coming from? Where did you go?
Ruby?
I
Yeah.
know you.
You.
Oh, well,
Who are you?
like all of you, I started as a baby.
Skip that part.
Are you sure?
Born in Brooklyn, New York. Lived on the island most of my life, except for the times that I went other places to visit. Did traveling when I was younger. I was lucky enough to sell a painting when I was 18 of a huge fire that was in Smithtown. Turned out to be a 6-alarm fire at a furniture store in Smithtown. And the owner of the apartment I lived in knew the owner of the furniture store. And when he told him about the painting I did, it was a 4-foot by 4-foot painting of the fire, with firemen hanging on the ladders and flames and smoke and the works. The owner ended up contacting me and buying a painting.
Of the fire, yeah.
So, because he got plenty of insurance money from the fire. And that was still under investigation at the time. But it started with a big explosion because apparently there was like a cigar or something burning in the couch over the weekend. And when the guy came and opened the door on Monday morning, the whole thing just exploded. And I saw the first puffs of smoke from where I lived about a mile away. And I ran into town with my camera and took a lot of pictures of the whole thing. But it made me enough money to be able to travel to Israel. I stayed on a kibbutz for at least 3 months. I was in Israel for 6. So I traveled around a lot. I met a lot of different people and became friends with, especially the Dutch people that were visiting also at the same time at the kibbutz. A couple of years later, I went back to Holland to visit some of the people that I had met. We stayed friends. And still do. Wow. Yes.
Is art very popular in Israel?
It's pretty popular in most countries, more than American places. I mean, people appreciate it, seem to appreciate it a lot more. All over. I mean, when I traveled around, I had my sketchbook, and I did sketches of people, and I had crowds of people always coming around me as I'm sketching. I got free dinners at restaurants because I'd sketch the owners.
Okay.
I made a lot of friends that way. It was really great. In fact, somebody else did a sketch of my book. They passed it around the bus one time when I was going from Jerusalem to Haifa, and somebody else did a sketch in the book also, and they came back with an extra sketch in there. But yeah, so I've been drawing since I was a little kid. I started drawing as soon as I could pick up a pencil, pretty much, and I started painting around 6, and I actually have my first painting. Might as well show it to you now.
Did you paint? Oh, you good? Good.
Sure. I thought it'd be pretty funny because my whole life, my grandmother had the picture, and she hung it up in wherever she lived, and continually told people, "This is how I paint."
Wow.
So until just a few years ago, when she died, this is how everybody that she knew thought I painted.
Okay. Well, you were 6?
I was 6,
Yeah.
and on the back of this picture is a paint by number. And I couldn't stand following the lines, even at 6. I tried, and then I just got discouraged, and I turned it over, and I sat outside. It was my first plein air painting. I did it in my backyard.
Wow.
This was out there with a bushel and everything sitting back there. I think there were apples or something in it, I'm not sure.
Did you have a beard then?
No, that came a little bit later.
Did your mama and papa encourage you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, my mother did, I have a couple of paintings that my mother did, actually the year I was born. And my father also painted. My father was a draftsman. He did drawing, but he was more into the draftsman type drawing, mechanical things. And he also liked to do signs. So
So you come in your jeans.
yeah, pretty much. I think so. My sister didn't get into the visual talent, but she's able to play music. She started playing piano when she was very young, and the problem is she memorized everything right away. So she never really read the music too much. And that's what got her in trouble a lot, because if something changed, she didn't change with the music. But she got very good with music. And now she knits and creates other things too, but I got the painting and the sculpture part of it. And she also got the allergies.
Reuven, have you ever done any other work besides painting and art?
Well, most of my life, for the last about 40 years, I did orthotics and prosthetics for a living. That's what made me my money. Painting was only an occasional thing at the time. I mean, as far as shows go, but I mean, I always did artwork. I can't help it, it just happened. My house is now bulging with paintings and carvings, and that's why I like to do the chalk carvings for now, because they're the smallest things, they take up less space. I don't have room for a lot of big things like the goose and things like that. I have some larger ideas that I'd love to do this winter. I just don't have the space for it. I have a 7.5-foot dragon barbecue that I started making a few years ago. I used a Texas cooker barbecue, with round cylinders, as the belly of the dragon. So the dragon comes up about this high, and it's 8 feet long, with a big curly tail. And it's standing on 3 legs with one leg up in the air like this. And I got as far as wiring it out, and I finished sculpting the head, but I got sidetracked, and it's just sitting in my studio now, taking up space, because I can't get it out of there to work on it. It's in the back of the studio, and I have to get it outside through 20 feet of everything.
How would you do it? What would you use? What medium?
I actually found a place in, I think it was Tennessee, that had scrap copper with like a dimple design in it. It looked like scales. It would be perfect. And I was going to weld them to the outside of the wire frame on the outside of the dragon. So the smoke would actually come out through the drain's mouth. And, well, the ashes out the other end. Someday maybe I'll finish it if I can figure out how to clear out my studio to get it outside. But, so I brought a whole bunch of samples of different things that I've done. Let's try the big one first. This, you probably remember Hurricane Bill from 2009. It churned up the oceans a real lot. I have it written on the back of this thing. Passed by Long Island, 150 miles to the east. During the passing, it churned up the entire eastern coast of the USA. Waves reached heights of 14 feet. I couldn't resist the trip to Smith's Point Beach for a photo or two. The water was incredibly violent. Rows of large waves sent thick mists into the air, creating weird fog. And there were people down on the beach singing and chanting and having a party down there. I guess waiting for the waves to take them away. So,
What medium did you do that in?
this is acrylic. And it's on 1/8" masonite panel. I like working on panels a lot because they take up a lot less space in storage for one. And you can cut them to any shape or size you want. And you're not restricted to sizes like the canvas might have. Now, this one, I was going to the city one day. Railroad, right. And like I said, they were on Conklin.
You had a woman ticket,
Yeah. Yeah.
They still hire women to do that?
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Excuse me.
Every time I take the train, I always see guys in there. I never seen a woman.
Mike, the women are
I see
taking
quite a few
over.
different women there.
Women are taking over, Mike.
We have to take
They
it.
are.
You guys can put that on the train.
That's right.
This one I think I brought in here before.
Senior citizen. too.
Oh, yeah.
I call this the Pink Dutchman.
Yeah.
And I took some photographs of this fella last year. I was in Holland visiting my friends there. And she was taking me to visit her daughter who just had a baby. And we stopped in this little town called Camden, I believe. Campen. And it was like a boating town, seaside town. So she parked over by a pub and went inside and found out a friend of hers worked there. And she spent the time talking to a friend. I walked around town taking pictures. And I came back and this fellow was sitting out there. Looks like he's like 3 sheets to the wind. He didn't even notice me standing in front of him taking his pictures. But after I finished this painting, I ended up faxing a picture to my friend in Holland asking if she can go find out who this fella is. And I haven't heard back from her yet, but she did tell me that she went to her friend that works at that pub and she left a copy of the picture there. And they're going to contact me when this guy comes back to the pub.
It looks like a regular.
Yeah, he probably was. I think he was. That's how the woman knew who
That's
he
a
was.
really good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the no smoking, and he's smoking, is that in the?
Yes,
sign?
he's smoking.
Wooden shoes, Reuven?
Wooden shoes.
Yeah.
Those shoes are wooden?
Yes.
Are they comfortable to walk in?
Yeah.
Yes, if you get used to them.
Yeah,
Hard.
I bought a pair.
I like it.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. I almost killed myself the first 5 minutes. I fell off the
At the
deck
beginning.
because the shoes started coming off as I was walking. But you just got to not backtrack. As long as you walk, everybody there wears them. There's casual
Yeah, I would
shoes.
say they're very popular.
Yes, yes, they really are. You can go into a store, like a department store, and find racks and racks of wooden shoes there next to the canvas sneakers and things.
Instead
Is
of.
there any special type of wood that they use?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But it's supposed to last quite a long time.
I got it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I felt that the first time.
Here's another one. I always try different things. Driving home, can't avoid
I love that.
saying this. This is
That is very good.
Gorgeous, it's a finished one.
this is Vets Highway actually. Over by Connecticut. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that area.
No.
Yeah. You go over a hill, over another road or train tracks, and there's a long area where it's woods. It's like a wildlife area.
Okay.
It's Connecticut Park.
Oh, that part, okay.
And this cuts right through it, and they were just redoing the whole road at the time.
Yeah, they're still doing it.
Still doing
And
it.
in
Always
the
done it.
back, you write what happened that day, or what was
You
happening?
were sitting in a car? What were you
Oh yeah, I was
doing?
in the car, I was in front of this guy with the stop sign, taking his picture. And taking pictures all over the place of everything going
Is
on.
that with oil or acrylics?
This is acrylic also.
I like the shade and the values and the
Yeah.
The
colors.
perspective is perfect.
Perspective.
Yeah. What
It's
type of
narrative.
acrylics are you using?
No brand particular. Lately I just use basics. Because you get a large tube for only a couple of dollars a tube. I can't see spending like $13, $14 for a tube of color when I can get a big tube for less. I don't mind if it's a little more transparent than the other paint, because I like transparent paint. I use a lot of glazes in my technique, so it just means less clear material to add to the paint.
Did you take some number of photographs too, before you, while you were there in the area?
Well, when I was sitting there,
Yeah.
yeah. I have my camera with me all the time.
Okay.
My camera and my sketchbook go with me everywhere. So if I don't have enough time to sketch, I take pictures.
That's
You
extraordinary.
ever, I know the guy in Holland, you're trying to make, find out who it is. You ever, obviously you've used this before, you ever try to contact like that guy or something like that, like you walk down there?
Well, not this one, but I've done some other paintings sort of similar in Mastic Beach. And the guys knew me from going by. They saw the picture. I showed it to a couple of them go by, and they were always waving at me as I'm coming by and doing with my car. Yeah.
Because of your cut.
Sure. Everybody knows my car everywhere around.
Speaking of your car,
I couldn't bring it in
did
here.
you, I know that, but
What is outside?
what made you take the jump and decide to decorate your car? And what kind of paint did you use to do that and stuff?
Well, as a matter of fact, it turns out I've always done it. The first car I got was a beat-up Volkswagen Beetle that my father smashed up both sides, and we hammered it out because there's no motor in the front. Smashed it up, hammered it back out. He rolled it over and popped out the back window and crunched the top, and we hammered it back out and put the window in. That's the car I got for my first car. And I think on that car, I painted the panels a beige color, and in between the panels I painted them brown. And then I put Chinese masks in the front and on the sides, all colorful masks with some Chinese writing. One said 10,000 pieces of gold, and the other one said good luck on it. And on the back I had a dragon, and on the sides, those little panels, I had a bird on one side and a butterfly on the other. So the entire car was Chinese dancers and things all around. So,
Did it sell?
well, the car finally, what happened is, the engine just blew on it one day, and it was sitting in my parents' front yard. And I had people that were going to give me $200 or $300 just for the body, for the painting on it. And I got home then one day, and my mother sold it to the junk dealer for like $50.
And what kind of paint did you use?
Now, basically, I just use latex paint.
Really?
Yeah. But what I do is, well, the Volkswagen was kind of heavy. I didn't really put it on nice and thick. And it lasted for like the year and a half I had the car until it got smashed, until it got destroyed. But I had a Toyota that I painted like 7 times in different things. Same thing with latex, and it seemed to last. The last vehicle I had was a minivan, and I had a full-size tiger on one side, and on the other side I had like 4 or 5 deer. And what I did, I put clear coat over it, and it lasted for a very long time. And I also sculpted an alligator head out of foam from my job, the lightweight foam I use for the orthopedics, for the legs. And I sculpted the top of an alligator head and glued it on the hood and painted ripples like it's going through the water. And that lasted for 8 years. And a lot of people coming up and poking at it to see what it was made of. A lot of people that wanted to steal were disappointed it's only foam. It's like, and then turn around and walk away.
I
But-
hope you took pictures of it.
I have them somewhere.
Yeah.
I also had a Nova that was pretty beat up that I re-putted it with stuff from my job, the leftover foam material. And my wife kept saying, she wishes she had a Camaro. So one day I pulled into a gas station with the car, and there was a Camaro parked there, and it was the same size as the Nova, except for the compartment on top. So I ended up painting a red Camaro on her side of the car, I mean a Corvette on her side of the car. So now she had a Corvette, I called it a Novette. So half Nova, half Corvette. On the other side, I was going to paint an Excalibur, with pipes on the side and everything like that, but it didn't last that long.
Wow.
Didn't you paint the Rolls Royce in the garage?
Yes.
Yeah.
The garage door.
It's on my
I
business
saw
cards.
it, yeah,
I have that picture on the business card. My neighbors thought I had a Rolls Royce in the garage
yes.
for the longest time, till one of the neighbors finally came over and walked down until he got about like 30 feet from the car.
We never used
And
it.
with the door.
And then he realized that it was painted on the door because I had the dog sitting there next to it
Yeah,
also.
that's so.
You just never drove it, it's in good shape.
Yeah, that's always in the garage. But it was actually, it was a limo for one of the limo companies. And I saw it originally in a park in Setauket, and I took some pictures of it. And while I was painting it on the garage door, I had a little trouble trying to figure out how the shadows and reflections would go in the garage. So I called up the limo company that had it. And it turned out they had sold it to somebody that lived about a mile from my house around the corner. So I went over there and he actually had it in the garage. And he opened up the garage door and I said, stop, right there. I took a couple of pictures of it and I went home and I finished painting the garage door.
It's fun.
This is a painting of Rabbi Milrod. He presided at my mother's funeral.
Yes.
And what year was that?
On the left side.
2009. 2009. Unfortunately, this one, I was experimenting and painted on cardboard, which is foam with cardboard on both sides. So it's extremely lightweight and it's very fragile. And I wish I never painted on this stuff because now I gotta be very careful. I put plastic strips on the edge so that the edges don't get cracked.
That painting is so beautiful, you should keep it on the wall, so it never gets touched by anything. That's a beautiful painting.
Well, I'd like to just put a frame on it, at least to protect it.
Yeah, now,
And then put a hard piece of wood or something behind it to mount it.
So why don't you want to do that, or what?
Well, I just haven't gotten around to it.
Now, what, did you work from a photograph?
I had several photographs and a quick sketch that I did when I was after the funeral.
You did a sketch and then you...
Well,
you never seen it?
no,
Oh, what a shame.
Is he alive?
I actually emailed him the picture. I don't know if he ever saw it or not, but I never heard back from him. And I found out he has a couple of children, and I tried to get a hold of them because I figured they probably want to buy it because it's their father. I couldn't get their names because I'm not whatever member in their group or something like that online.
Well, they're missing out.
So anyway, so
Beautiful. If you took portrait as a serious business, you wouldn't make business.
well, I can still do it.
But yes, you
I'm
can.
happy to if I can get people that want something.
Just not on
You
the
should
phone.
try to contact the family and let them know that you got this portrait.
Well, I don't know how to contact the family. I mean, like I said, they have to be in their group online, or you can't get a hold of them.
Isn't there a
You know, it's just-
synagogue or someplace, a certain?
I don't know where it is. It's-
Oh.
I think he's from either in middle of Nassau County or Queens.
Well, I mean, the people who contacted him to preside at your mother's funeral.
I don't know who they were.
His sister.
I don't know if he worked for the cemetery
Funeral
or,
director?
I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, you have to take better notes.
I take notes, but I have so many pictures and things that this is just one of a whole bunch.
Wow.
Now this one was another experiment with surrealism. I call this one Dear John. Because actually a friend of mine that I work with named John, and he was holding a deer skull that I have.
I like it. I like it.
That's something like Salvador Dali would do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to experiment with surrealism sometimes. I've got a few more stacked up in my head, I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
The sky, the colors
Your
of the
head must be
sky.
spinning.
Yeah, a lot of times. Between the storage of carving ideas.
Salvador Dali would love this.
I don't know, he's dead. I don't think
I met him once.
When was it?
Where?
It was
Yeah, of course.
Where did you meet him?
in City Robot.
What's the matter?
In Sunday, my autograph, I had a nice picture there when he was under there.
Now, actually, I should show you this
Bobcat
first.
on the shoulder.
This is one of my little experiments. I was kind of interested in mosaics at the time, but I didn't really want to bother doing a mosaic. So what I did was, I painted the picture, and then I used the three-dimensional paint in it with a tube, like a baking tube, or icing tube. And I drew all of these lines after the picture was done. And then I set it under with a piece of wax paper on top and let it dry for about a week or so. Because that's why it's flat on the surface. Because I had wax paper on it with a piece of glass on top of it to flatten everything out. And then what I did is I filled in between with clear resin with coloring.
Oh, that's where you get that glow
On
on
top of the
rose. Yeah.
If you wanted to pass it around, you could look at it.
That's very creative.
That was my first experiment with that kind of thing.
Yeah, nice.
Did you cook?
Yeah, I cook.
You do everything.
In fact, I got painting, one painting I call meatballs, and I'm standing there over the pot, actually making pasta sauce.
That's amazing.
But I didn't bring that with me.
That's a popular
It's
subject,
really something.
meatballs.
But this was the next experiment after that one.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
So beautiful.
What mediums did you use to create this?
The painting, I believe it was acrylic, the bottom painting. Now, actually, where I got this picture from, you might not believe it. She was a barmaid in, I think, the Werewolf, the original black and white, or was it was Frankenstein? She was a barmaid in the movie, the original movie. It was in black and white.
In the 40s, 50s,
30s,
30s.
31, I think.
The original Frankenstein?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it was just a quick scene where she was leaning over the bar. And I took a picture of it off the screen, and I used her as the model, and I painted this up. And then I did the same thing with a beige color, a thick acrylic. And I did all these lines over this same thing.
Shadow is amazing.
The reflection.
The reflection coming out?
Yeah.
So well done.
It's like she's wrapped in a cobweb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me feel very,
Itchy?
How do you get out of it?
So I think I might have done another one, maybe two, in this kind of style. And then I moved on to something else. Just want to see if I could do it.
Well, you can.
it's amazing.
Like a glass of
Beautiful.
Then, I don't know if anybody saw the two pictures I had in the gallery, in the Phoenix gallery, but the summer when they had the show, of waves, three-dimensional waves. But this was another experiment in 3D. And unfortunately, it doesn't really show up on film in 3D. But you could pass this around. This is actually 3 layers of 1/4-inch plastic, a plastic called Sterling. It was from where I worked. There's little scrap pieces. They would just throw them out, so I just take pieces of them home.
Yeah.
So I painted on the background and on each of the 2 layers in front of it, on the back and on the front, to give different layers. And then the third piece is just covering the whole thing. And then what I did is I mixed up liquid resin and I put it between the layers, and I would have liked to use a vacuum machine to squeeze it, but I ended up just clamping it on top of some aluminum foil because it was dripping all over the place. It was a real mess. But you can pass that around too. And I think I put the ladybug on the inside of the top layer. So actually you can see it all moving as you move.
That's a real ladybug?
No, it's painted.
Yeah, I know.
It's painted.
I know.
And then this was another experiment with the 3D effect, but only on one sheet of plastic. And what I did is I painted a reverse painting on the back, where you start painting it in color. I don't know if anybody Some of you probably have done reverse painting, no?
No.
You paint it on the back, and then you could scrape out pieces of paint,
Okay.
and you can see the little rays of light and the squiggles in the background. Pass that around
What's
too.
that, glass?
It's acrylic,
Oh, you can see through.
yeah. And,
Yeah.
well, I whitened out the back with a lot of
Well,
layers
you
of
do, you
gesso.
get a three-dimensional feel for it.
Yeah.
But I did the reverse painting on the back and scraped out for bright areas and painted over it again.
Wow.
And then the trees and the snow I painted on the front.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you get this idea to do that?
I know.
I don't know, just-
Dream it?
Came to me.
His head spins.
Yeah.
Boy, it does, wow.
That's amazing.
So, unfortunately, I don't have room to keep doing all the things I come up with ideas for. I just don't have room. It would be nice if I could sell stuff, so I can't always find buyers for everything.
Open you need a gallery.
But, let's see what else. Okay, and then, all right, let's see, I think, okay. Here are, this one is oil paint. This is Maisie, when she was, about 6 months old.
Are you that big?
Yes, she has big ears. And she's got this M on her head, and I found her in May, so that's why I call her Maisie.
Really?
Yeah. All those cats seem to have an M on their head.
Okay.
But her eyes were purple when I first found her, which means she was like at least like 3 or 4 weeks old.
Now, you used several photographs to put this together, didn't you?
Photographs and imagination, yeah.
Yeah.
But she sits like that a lot by my shoes. And she loves, like a dog, she loves to fetch. So there's always a piece of crumpled up paper. If I'm sitting in the kitchen, I crumple up a piece of paper, she comes racing from the other room because she hears it. And then she waits and I throw it and she goes and gets it. And she plays like a cat with a mouse and kicks it around and she finally brings it back and waits for me to throw it again. She loves it.
What's that in the right, top right corner that your thumb was?
This is one of those, a cat toy where there's a ball
Oh,
inside.
yeah, okay.
And the ball spins around and the cat can reach in and hit it, but I
Right.
can't take it out. So she likes to play with that, because they all do. And every once in a while I go over and hit it and spin it around. The smaller ones know nothing can happen, the 2 older ones. And then, this one, so this was done 7/5/13. So, I found her in May, so she was only a couple of months older. And then this one, I did again, this was more recent, I only did this one August. She likes to hide behind a shower curtain and pretend she's invisible. Nobody can see her there now, because she's hiding. But she's got that forever piece of roll of paper over there.
Yeah.
I got 3 or 4 of them all over the house somewhere. Every once in a while she'll pick them up and bring them over to me to play.
That one eye at you, right?
Yeah, that's cute. And that's the shower curtain?
No, not really. My shower curtains are just green.
Oh, okay.
But I made it up. I had a lot of pictures of irises and stuff. Decided they had to get there. And, like, what else I got here? Like a lot of artists, I do a lot of self-portraits too, because I'm always around. This one, I call the Wild Bunch.
Wow.
I saw this when I was driving home one day. These guys pulled up behind me in a motorcycle, on their motorcycles.
What do you think about that one?
Were you driving?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
That looks like a William.
I was here I was looking in the mirror.
And taking a
It
photograph.
looks like
I'm taking photographs.
William Floyd Parkway.
Yep, William Floyd. Right in by Shirley.
Yeah,
It's a red light or
that's it.
something.
The
Yep.
building.
Yep.
I did a portrait of a couple that got married, and I used the back window as, like you did.
As a frame?
Yeah, but looking into the car. Back window was the frame. So I invented that up, and that was, they loved that. This was so different. I used several pictures to put it together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I do too. You never seem to get a decent picture
Yeah.
Yeah,
that once says what you want.
yeah.
But I did a lot of sketching of it out
Look
also,
at the guys.
and then I matched the pictures to my sketch usually.
Yeah.
Because I got the idea, and I would rough sketch it out first, and then use pictures for details filling in.
Now, when you were
That's you.
driving, You
Yeah,
couldn't
that's
turn
what's
around and take a picture.
It was a red light.
Well, actually, I probably did. I probably just held the camera up and took a picture of my shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the digital cameras are great, you don't have to worry about the
You
film.
could erase
We
it.
didn't have,
Yeah.
there was no hands-free camera taking.
That's amazing.
It says in my rear window at the corner of William Floyd Parkway and Montauk Highway. See?
I told you. I was shopping there.
I found out later on, when I was at a show, that this guy actually came to the show
Oh,
and recognized it and told me these two guys are brothers.
they look like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened once before from sketching. I used to go out with a friend of mine, I like to drink, so I drive. And we went to the Holiday Inn by MacArthur Airport once, and I did some sketches of people. And then later on, we were at a place in Syosset, like 40 miles away or something like that, at another place. And somebody came over to look at my sketchbook, and he was looking through it, and he saw somebody there and said, "Hey, that's my brother!" So apparently they're very recognizable from the sketches that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you have that reflection.
I love that it's only half of you, too. I love it's
I
only half.
know. Almost, yeah.
So that was one self-portrait.
Half portraits.
Half of it.
Part portrait, yes. But I can keep track of me. I have portraits of me without my beard when I had hair.
Oh, wow.
You still have hair.
So I was thinking, but a lot of people don't really think it was me. Let's see. Another experiment was this one. I call, what do I call this? Oh, the Cyclops.
Oh, that's yeah, that was you.
That's another self-portrait, huh?
Uh-huh. Just taking a picture in the mirror, and you can see, if you look, you can see Fuji's backwards,
Yeah.
because it's in the mirror.
Oh,
So that was relatively fast.
And you title like that because that's one eye.
Right. Yeah. I figure I have enough pictures that say I or me or something in there, so do something different. This was 2012.
Is that on Masonite also?
Yes. Quarter inch.
Acrylic?
Yes. Majority of the pictures I do are in acrylic. Occasionally I'll do oil just to do something different. And another self-portrait. This one I was playing around with Rembrandt.
Oh, nice.
I restricted myself to the colors Rembrandt would use. Just a black and white, a burnt
He's a pretty good
umber,
artist.
and a burnt sienna, and a yellow ochre.
You ever see his self-portrait?
He did a lot of them.
So many of them.
Yeah.
I ever see any of his paintings?
And
I saw some of them in the Reich
you
Museum
can see it in the.
when I was in Holland. And I also was at the Van Gogh Museum too. So that was basically a pose that Rembrandt did in the painting, I just changed me into it.
Do you ever plan on putting a nice frame on them?
Yeah, I can see.
Because I noticed you don't have frames on.
I'd go broke if I tried to frame everything. A lot of times lately I've been painting, doing the art, what do you call it, around the corners? Art wraparound, yeah. But
Nice.
there was a place I used to get frames at that sold these, they're like styrofoam type frames. They were lightweight, they looked like gold frames, they were very nice, they were a lot less money.
No, but get a good one.
But they went out of business.
Get a big one.
I can't afford
So
them.
you can, I think you can sell it over there.
Well, when I die, a museum could put all the frames on there they want.
That's what's happening with a lot of the artists. After they pass on, all their work stuff.
That's when you can really enjoy your artwork. Now this one was another game. Actually, I like the dust on there because it adds to the effect.
Okay.
But,
Is this scary?
stop that, saying that.
Oh,
Oh,
I thought it was a bird in my
What was
dog.
that actor's name again?
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi.
Oh, really?
So it's Dracula and his wife.
Actually, he lived the part.
That's Dracula.
Scary.
And actually,
Scary.
if you turn out the lights, his eyes glow in the dark.
Oh my God, yeah?
Yeah.
You gotta put that up for sale now.
My kind of right
That will sell.
That's
Actually,
what's up.
I never signed it because I never quite finished it. I actually wanted to add in fake spider webs over here on both sides.
Don't need it.
You don't need them.
How did you
That-
get
that's
those?
You can check in, but you can't check out.
A lot of work, man. A lot of work on it.
I wouldn't want to see him at night. Oh.
And you put in your bedroom, you can't have it open.
Well, no, well, that's the whole thing. The people that come and you open it up.
You
Yeah.
open it at night only, you gotta close it during the day.
So you can see things.
I don't know, if you turn up the lights, maybe you can see the ice floating
You have to
around.
see if
My
this
man.
Reuben, you want me to set them off?
Close the.
You can try, yeah, it might not be this, you always have to get adjusted
It's
first.
over here.
Okay, good.
You're gonna close the
And
lights?
since it's right under the lights, you probably charge it up pretty good.
I like your imagination.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did you use luminous paint?
Of course.
Oh.
So I have the effect like in the movies when I used to highlight the actor's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh my God.
Yes.
The eyeballs,
So if it's totally dark, all you can see is his eyes.
the eyeballs move a little bit.
Out his clocks.
Oh, that's scary.
Clocks will be coming out. In the free wires, look at this one.
Wow.
Did she know?
Yeah.
That was your finale, huh?
Yeah, actually, I was going to use the first painting as the finale, but I changed it.
You made that thing look like a coffin.
Yep. That was it. And then I had
Terrific person, man.
it was tough trying to find just the right pieces I wanted
Have
to
you
make
ever
it look
written
like
a
that.
book about your ideas? I mean, really?
Just my sketchbooks.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I never even heard of some of this stuff.
Well, I came up with a lot of this stuff. So.
Amazing.
Hey, there are too many people that think like you.
No, you're out of the box.
That's what
So,
Out of the box.
out of the box.
Out of the box.
So that's pretty much my presentation.
Right,
Well, you can come up and look. I have this one.
About them.
This is my tribute to Jackson Pollock.
made of chalk.
Can we pass it around?
No.
As long as you don't drop it.
No, we don't.
Oh, we're paying attention.
I had to actually make a painting to fit in there, just like the way he did it. I look at a lot of his paintings, and I have a couple of videos of him too. I watched him, and then I did the painting with all the little cans of paint. The pieces, I had to shave down toothpicks to make them small enough to fit in the cans of paint.
Did you
Can I
see the
see that?
movie they made? Of that guy?
Which one?
Yeah, Ed Harris played him.
Yeah, Ed Harris. That's the best movie.
I have it.
I wouldn't see any other.
That's what inspired that.
Yeah,
Yes.
always wanted Jack.
Ed Harris is just unbelievable.
So how many have you done? Like
What,
lots
chalk?
of them? Yeah.
Got it?
I don't know anymore. I mean, I have probably around 150 or so of them at home now.
Did you start it because you saw?
But I've
somebody-
sold probably half of what I've done.
Why,
Explain how you do it,
why did you
Reuben.
start with that? Who was
Uh,
did you see it somewhere or
well,
some inspiration?
the basic inspiration, anybody see a movie called The Agony and the Ecstasy?
Yeah.
About Michelangelo's painting?
Yeah.
Kurt Douglas?
With Charlton
Charlton
Heston,
Heston.
who's 6 foot something.
So the beginning of that painting, the beginning of that movie starts off in the courtyard, and he's standing there chiseling out his blocks of marble, and at that, it's 5 minutes of a scene, and at that point, something just hit me, and it looked pretty cool with him chipping away at the white marble, and I walked around the house, I was 15 at the time. I found a stick of white chalk in my mother's blackboard in the kitchen, and I found a hat pin in the closet, in one of the hats, I pulled it out, a nice long pin, and I just started carving.
Wow.
At 15, you started
And,
that?
yeah,
Oh.
and I haven't been painting since I was about 6, with the other one. So, and I already studied a lot of books. I'm self-taught basically. I went through a lot of books on Da Vinci and Rembrandt around that time. So I started painting in that technique. And all the other artists that I studied, I tried their techniques. And basically all together now, everything's kind of incorporated and I got my own thing. I don't, yes.
You
manager to help you do presentations. You do a very good job. You do presentations at schools and colleges. You really
You
are
want the job?
really talented.
Yeah, she does want
She's
Why
right.
does one
She is
I need
right.
a manager.
You do.
publicity.
I thought you
Yeah.
had before.
Because
I don't know how you pick one.
What is the difference
How do you
between
find
the square ones and the round ones? Is it
Well,
the
these
same?
are older. These are done. This one, I probably did, like in the late 60s. This is Hercules killing the lion. And it's in one piece of Crayola chalk. I think it's Crayola chalk. You standard round sticks of chalk.
we forgot
Close
our
enough?
magnifying glasses.
You gave me a lot of ideas
Okay.
today.
So I mean, the first thing I carved was just a simple person laying down, one leg bent. And I carved that one. And then I carved another one with a little bit more details. And I think by the fourth one, I copied a picture, one of Raphael's paintings of a Madonna and child. And I did a carving of the Madonna holding the child. And I brought it to high school at the time. And I showed this fellow who was a sculpture teacher. He wasn't actually my teacher, but I went in there and showed it to him. And he just said, "Oh, come in after school." Okay. So I came in, he was telling everybody, "You see this guy can carve and put it on a postage stamp." He's telling everybody just the first 4 carvings. And when I came in after school, he surprised me, handed me a rock about this big, like the size of a head, a piece of red sandstone.
Yeah.
And a hammer and a couple of chisels, and I was like, hey, go home and carve. It's a weekend, go carve something. And that's what first started me on carving larger pieces. I went home and I actually, using Michelangelo's idea of the head of Moses, I tried to carve that. And I ended up bringing it back Monday morning with a bowling bag, in a bowling bag. It just fit in there. And that's what got me started in carving.
Motivation, a different.
First the chalk, and then other things.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Sure.
In the South Bay, he went to a meeting, and I got so impressed. Remember, he showed up. We asked him if he could give a demo, and he gave a demo how he does the show.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he
The chalk,
used
right?
one of the members, one
Yeah.
woman, as a model. And he was beautiful.
But you have to sit on top of him to really see. his
No, we were
fingers.
around the table.
Well, it's kind of hard to see. I mean, I would have liked to have a camera and a screen or something
Yeah.
so
Right.
people could see it.
Yeah, we were around.
But only a few people in the front can really see close up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just started carving, and I said, "Let me know when you think you know who it is that I'm
But
carving."
it was like
And the lady was sitting there, and after about 15 minutes, she said, "Oh, it's me."
Yeah.
I gave it to her
It
to
was
take home.
beautiful.
Right.
It was actually fairly crude because I was busy talking most of the time, and I really couldn't concentrate on the carving so
And
much.
you also dipped them, right?
When I finished the carving, I used to dip them in polyurethane. I tried a lot of things over the years. Orange shellac gets very dark. I don't think, no, I don't have any of those. But this is probably one of the older ones. This is a Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
And
Pleasant.
Must be.
this was done in, I think it's in 1986. So- It does get darker with age.
I won't even look at the movies and you're making me look at this. Look at it.
I know, it's
But the
blood.
orange shellac got very dark,
Oh my God.
and it didn't actually make it any harder. It just put a little bit of a shell, but it broke very easy. I tried a lot of different things. I even tried dipping it in coffee and milk at one time, but after about a week or so, you couldn't stand it because it was sour. The milk got sour. You open it up, it's like, oh.
So did you crack that glass on purpose?
No, it actually probably cracked from heat because the way I sealed that dome was with glue.
Like it's part of it.
The way I sealed it with glue, the glue didn't expand and contract when the glass does. So it probably cracked the glass. I tried a lot of experiments on being able to seal them so I could open them up in the future if I have to change the glass or clean the glass. Because a lot of the old ones I don't have here. But they have a lot of humidity inside. The glass is like fogged up with dust inside. And I have to operate basically to open up the glass without breaking it to be able to clean the inside of the dome.
So what sort of glue are you using?
The last thing I found, the best thing, is wax. I use like a little sculptor's wax, and I roll it out really, really thin like a string, and just stick it into the track where the glass goes. And what I do is, before I seal it, what I do is I heat it I bought a heater, little heat gun from Michael's for, I forgot what they use it for.
And caustic.
For the glue.
Yeah, you can use it for that too, yeah.
Glue stick.
Yeah. It's something specific, but it heats the glue up, I mean the wax, and starts to melt it, gets it a little soft. And it's hot enough that, and it's small enough that I can heat the wax without heating up the carving too much. And then what I do is, I clean the glass dome, and I heat it up, the base of it up, really hot until I can barely hold the glass in my fingers anymore. And then I take it, and I put it into the wax, and I squeeze it down. And what it does is it makes an airtight seal. And it also makes a partial vacuum because the hot air made a little bit of a vacuum. So when it cools, it actually holds the glass on.
Yeah.
And it works great because if I ever have to change the domes down, all I have to do is heat it up again with the heater and then gently pull the dome off. So it's very easy. The other methods I use, I try hot glue, which is really tough to get out once it sets. And the glass, some of the glass is cracked from it because it didn't expand enough for the glass. I tried regular cements, same thing. They get hard and then they don't leave any room for the glass to expand or contract, and the glass cracks. Because this glass is very thin. In fact, I've even dropped it and broken the glass and not broken the carving inside. I've cracked the glass like that, you know?
Drilling a hole would not help that humidity thing, in the back of the show?
The outer hole will be worse. That's why I try and seal. Because when I go to shows like the ones in the sun, in the summer here, in Patchogue, the humidity or whatever, it heats up the inside and sucks the outside air in.
Yeah.
And then you can't get rid of it. And then they cloud up again. So several of them did cloud up when I was at the shows. So now I have to, the older ones, I have to operate and open them up, figure out what I glued it with, and open them up and try and change the glass without breaking it.
Well, you're good at trapdoors, just make a skylight that opens and get air, blowing up the wet air and make it better.
I mean, years ago, when I did a job with my grandfather at Christmas, I was a guard at the country club in Syosset. And I had a couple of these with me in the plastic. And one of the people there bought the carving. I did a carving of somebody in the guillotine. This way, and glued to the plastic. And the guillotine and everything, very, very fragile, you know. The guillotine was like thinner than a toothpick. The arm coming up. And when she bought it, she was an expert, a decorator. She's like, I'm going to take that out and put it into a glass dome. And I told her, don't try it. But I'm sure she probably destroyed it. Because to get it up, something like that would be very difficult. So, yeah, these have been on there for a long time.
What, that one in your hand, how long would that take you to do right now?
I don't know, probably about 5 hours, 6 hours. This was actually done from the regular round sticks of chalk. I'm not sure what brand it was.
Right.
But every place I traveled, in Israel and Europe, I bought chalk with different places, and I tried them all out. And I found, the only one I really found that I like out of all of them was the one brand that I get from that is made by a company in Germany. And those are square sticks, the ones that I do most of these larger carvings out of. You can see the base. The base of the carving is the size of the stick of chalk.
Oh, that's big. And
So-
you have a title and
Very
a
tiny.
Yeah. This is, well, I don't know, I can't read the photographer. But 2 pieces of chalk, one was a tripod. Actually, I think I made the tripod out of toothpicks. And I painted them white. And the camera and the photographer are made from, the camera is part of this one and the photographer is a separate piece that I just put together.
And you use a pin?
I use a pin as the most detailed carving tool. And I also have a small, I should have brought it, a small pocket knife. It's only one of these 2-inch knives. It has 2 blades. One blade I sharpen just a quarter inch of the tip. The rest of it I dull it because I tend to hold the blade when I carve. I don't want to slice my fingers open.
No.
So I have a quarter inch of the tip on a pointy one, and the other blade has a quarter inch rounded tip. And the rounded tip is great for carving out like eye sockets with a little side movement. You can carve out the eye socket, the cheeks. A lot of details, folds in clothing, this kind of thing. In clothing is great for that kind of thing. And then the pointy one is for sharper details. And then if I want really tiny, tiny detail, like doing eyes or mouth, I'll use a pin. And it turns out that a hat pin is really pretty good because it moves as you carve. It flexes a little bit. And you let it do that a little bit because if you don't, sometimes you can break more of the carving. You gotta have a little bit of a give, so the chalk takes what it
There's a
wants.
whole science to it, isn't
It
it?
turns out it is.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to write a book on it.
Did you break many?
Probably a lot when I first started.
Yeah, that's the way to
Are there
learn.
many people that do this? Do you know other people?
Yes.
I found that there are a lot of people in India that carve chalk. There's another fella about the same age as me that probably started around the same time I did in India.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of his carvings online, and in fact he's got me on his website now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The thing is, he moved on and he's carving larger things. But all his chalk figures were basically idols, the Indian worship type of things, temples, and boats. But he never really got into the same detail that I can get into. So,
It's incredible.
Hey, Reuven, you said when you do for a living, prosthetic stuff like that, you sell what now? For work?
I used to.
Used
You're
to.
retired.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, do you use any of that equipment to like help steady your hand, or muscle fatigue when you're doing that fine detail so you can
No.
work? Not at all?
No. And everyone says, oh yeah, use power tools, dental drills and stuff.
Right.
You can try it, but chances are you'll destroy the thing before you breathe. So, I mean,
It's very gradual.
I ended up even making my own chalk for a while because I used to get this square chalk from a company called Pelican. They make art supplies, inks, things like that. And I bought the original boxes at Pearl Paints in Hempstead. And I bought one box and I tried it and I loved it. It was great because there were very few air bubbles in the sticks of chalk. It was a good quality, you didn't run into hard spots or soft spots like most of the other sticks. So I went back and they had like 19 boxes and I bought them all. And then I spent like 2 years or so carving this chalk. And then I went back there and then no one carried it. They wouldn't tell me anything about it, where to get it, nothing. All I knew was the label had a Pelican on it. So it was a long process. And back in the 80s, I contacted, I found a company in Tennessee, it was a branch of Pelican. And I made friends with the woman who ordered supplies. I sent her some pictures of my carvings, and she sent them to Germany. And the head corporation over there liked them so much, they ended up sending me a case of 12 boxes of chalk.
Wow, nice.
And, in fact, I still have 2 left out of the 18 boxes. But writing with it, they go fast, but if you carve it, it takes a little longer. But then it turns out that the woman that sent it to me no longer works for the company down there, and they're no longer there. So I tend to start to panic before I run out. Like, where am I going to get more if I need them, So, in the process of trying to write a book, I rough wrote it now by hand. And I spent months doing example carvings, sample carvings for the book, taking pictures and writing what I'm doing in the carving each step of the way. It takes a long time to carve that way. But I did a lot of carvings, and then what happened is when I changed computers, I seemed to lost them all. The recovery didn't help any, nothing. I don't know where they went, they just disappeared.
What about if you make arrangements with somebody that I'm looking at, so you
Video?
feel, yeah.
But, so now I'm recarving new samples, I'm taking pictures, and I'm making sure they're all in the computer, nice and secure. And I actually wrote one chapter on carving a head. And I don't know if some of you might have seen the Lincoln head that I made.
No.
I'll have to bring it another time, but I wanted something that everyone would recognize. And I take it to the shows and leave it out on the table, and everybody like right away knows who it is. So that's the first chapter that I actually typed up on a computer and I have pictures for. I just have to put them together. But I have a long way to go on it. But a lot of people have asked me over the years about a book or a DVD. And I'd love to make a DVD on carving because I'm sure I have, there's thousands of people. I belong to National Wood Carvers Association. And there's a magazine called Chip Chats that they put out. And it goes to like 5,000 or 6,000 people all over the world. And I've had several articles in there about my chalk carving. And it turned out now, every time I write something and send them a letter, they put it in the magazine.
Good.
So there's people, I still get letters every once in a while from 20 years ago of people that got the old magazines asking me, did I ever write my book? So I'm trying to, but I'm not really that good at it because I'm busy making other things too.
Try to find somebody, especially a younger person, that knows how to write. And you talk to them, they do the writing.
It's not as much the writing per se, it's just putting it all together. You need somebody that's done a book basically to help you kind of put it together. Yeah. Because like I said, I already have it pretty much written out by hand in the book. I just have to put it on the computer and put the pictures together.
But you
with it.
spoke with Anna Jurinovich, and she can tell you a lot about the writing of the book, because she can give you tips the way that she did it.
I've talked to her about it,
Yeah.
but
Well,
Certain websites.
You know what we see
Yes.
here? I just want to say, we see a guy here with a fantastic amount of knowledge. And when you die, it'll die with you. You gotta put it in a book.
but here this is
Be happy to.
One thing I'm looking into is there's a site called Blurb. Have you heard of Blurb?
No.
If you use the internet, you can make your own print your own books.
Well, there are a lot. I put a book together with a friend of mine on the other side of Pennsylvania, who was better with the computer than me. Before my wife died, she did a lot of artwork on the computer because she lost the use of her hands, so she actually couldn't paint anymore for like 10, 15 years. So she did a lot of work on the computer, and she did her own drawings, and she had her own ideas. And I ended up with my friend in Pennsylvania, put a book together on Mixbook, and where it was able to get it done before she died. So she got a chance to see her work in the book, with her biography in the first couple of pages, and like 200 of her pictures in the book,
What is it called? Mixbook?
Mixbook. But the only problem is, they're incredibly expensive. They want like $70 for the thin book.
now it's less.
I found a couple other sites that will do it for less, and they even have people out to help you for some money, of course. But I don't want to plug anything for anybody that I don't know personally anyway. But there are a couple of sites that I might be able to work on. But I have to get further along on the book myself. I have to put more stuff written down by computer and get the pictures organized. And it's just tough to do between doing everything else that I'm doing too.
How many, when you made that Mixbook, how many did you make?
One. I bought one for Pat because they charged me $70 for the book.
That's too much.
Everybody wanted to buy it, but they all thought it was going to be like $20, $25. $75, nobody wants it. So I have the one book. It's not that size.
8 by 10, 11 by 14.
Probably 10 by 12 or
12 by
something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that you've done a wonderful presentation,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that book is going to be written.
Oh, it will be.
You have the kind of determination that's going to do it.
Yeah, when I met you, I go like that. That's great.
I used to buy camera shoes.
It's
Mostly I.
Now, this is true.
Oh, yeah, no, I did.
Holly, some of the way.
This thing's the
If he feels squirrel or a mole, he looks after them like a cat.